Okay. So we'll report, and then I want to, let's see, where I had the Chai Adam here somewhere. Yeah. I want to start with the Chai Adam. And so let me share my screen. If I can find the thing to do it. There you go. Here we go. Share. Okay. And let me make this a little bit bigger. There you go. That's a good percentage, right? So this is the Chai Adam on so if you ever look through the Chai Adam, his section 2 of his book is Hilchot Shabbat and Yom Tov, and in that section he actually splits Shabbat Malacha by Malacha, not exactly the way the Torah Shulchan Aruch organizes things. And under each Malacha, he gives usually like a little introduction to the Malacha, and then he gives also like some of the details then of the malacha, what things fall under it and so forth. So I want to look though, this is since Milah Ben is one of the malachot that shows up in Shin Bet in the Torah Shulchan Aruch formulation. I wanted to look at his intro to it, and he's got. Did we see the Gemara in Zvachim? I don't think we did in class, right? That was not.
It was assigned, but we
It
didn't.
was assigned. Okay, that's right. It was. So it will be referenced here. Josie, you want to read the first C for us? Is that okay?
Amachabes beged semer we're talking about Steve Alf, right?
Yeah.
Amachabes beged semer o pishtim o sh'ar minim b'derech kibus chayav. V'lo nikra kibus ela k'meshafshef tzad chad al hasheni k'derech akovsin, as we see in Zvachim 94. V'af al pi shehaya naki legamrei. V'hasochet habeged v'lo shafshef nami chayav shehasahita hi mitzarche kibus.
Okay.
That's the Rambam.
So explain. There's two major things going on here, I think.
So we're talking about washing things, right? Laundering, and the big thing that we're going to call kibus is that you have to basically rub one side of something against another in order to get it clean.
Because this is who does it that way?
Oh, this was the one in Zvach.
Right here, Kederach Hakovsin, right?
Yeah, right.
This is the launderers.
The launderers, right?
That's how they do laundry. You rub things against each other, right? If you ever hand washed anything, that's probably
that's how you get the stains out. You spray the spray and wash on it, and you rub it like this, and yeah.
Exactly, right. So that's the main way to clean is to rub one side against the other.
Right, okay. And if you just sort of sochet is just to wring it out, right?
Yes.
But you don't rub it against itself. You're still chayav because this is also a type of kibbutz.
I'd say mitzvah. It's like a major part of kibbutz, right? That it's
required for kibbutz.
Yeah, we have two things going on here. One is the rubbing. I think in the Gemara it's not shif shef. I think it's sichsech, if I remember correctly, or something like that in Zvachim. Oh, good. Ruben's nodding, so I'm assuming that I'm right in that sense. And then also schlita, right? That you sochet. So wringing out, I'll call it wringing instead of squeezing. Maybe wringing is a better, not to say that if you just squeeze, it's not a problem. It is, but it's like, we think of it when we think about washing as wringing the clothes out. Okay, that's all Seif Aleph. So that's two things, but we're going to have one more thing here, at least. So maybe Noam, you want to read Seif Bet in this Chai Adam?
Sure. Sorry, maybe you said at the beginning. What is the Chai Adam again?
Oh, I'll say it again. This is Abraham Danzig. He's in the 18th century mainly. I think mainly 18th century in like Vilna, that area is in Plotzik there. And he writes a book. He writes two major books. Chai Adam covers Ora Chaim essentially, and then the Chochmat Adam covers Yoredea and some other things, a little Choshen Mishpat, like a other, maybe this Evan Ezer in there. So they're kind of summary halacha books. He actually does say in his intro, I do remember this from the intro, that he's like, it's essentially for people who don't have time to go learn all the Gemara and learn all the, all the sources. He's going to help summarize it for all of you. He actually says in his intro, is like, if you can learn Gemara and you can learn Poskim, do not learn my book, right? He's like, you need to go learn the sources and actually like learn this. But people who are don't have the kind of time, and people actually like they're sorry, now you get my love for the Hayadim. In his time, people form like little chaburot to learn the Hayadim together. He becomes a major source of a major piece of literature in the halachic world in that sense. So, and the Mishnah Berurah loves him. Mishnah Berurah uses him a lot. Actually, refers to the Hayadim quite often. So, okay, Noam. So read Sif Bet for us in the Hayadim.
Shriat habeged b'mayim sheyesh alav lichluch avinami kikibus v'chayav. So putting any garment in water when there's dirt on the clothing, that's like kibbutz, and one is chayav.
Yeah, you'll notice the interesting addition he's had here, right? Is it's you'll see in Sif Gimel, right, which we've seen in the Shulchan Aruch. It's not so clear when there's no when it's something is already clean or you're doing it in a way of dirtying it, but. Well, kibbutz in general, he didn't say this out, but in other places we see this. Doing the actions of kibbutz of sichsech or shifshef, right, in water or wringing water out of things is chayav, potentially even if it's clean, right? Just having it sit in water, putting it in water or pouring water onto it may be a little bit different depending on if it's clean or not clean. And that's where our distinction he's going to draw is here. So okay. Keep going.
ולכן, תינוק שהשתין על הבגד, או שיש לכלוך אחר, אם ישפוך עליו מים, חייב. And therefore, when a child urinates on the clothing, or if there's some other kind of dirt, if you spritz water on it, you're chayav. אבל מותר ליטול ידיו, וכיוון שאין על הידיים רק מעט מים, מותר לקנח ידיו במקום השתן. וכיוון דקינוח ידיים הוא בדרך לכלוך, ולא בדרך כביסה כלל. וגם שאין על ידיים רק מעט מים, לכולי עלמא לא אמרינן בזה שריעתו זהו קיבוסו. So you're allowed to wash your hands, and because there's only a little bit of water on your hands, then you're allowed to wipe your hands on the place where there's urine. And since in wiping your hands, you're actually only making the towel dirtier, you're not laundering it, you're not doing kvisa, and also because there's only very little water on the hands, then everyone agrees that this is not a case in which just wetting a garment is equivalent to laundering it.
Exactly. This is right. He has two factors here. Not everyone says this, but some people do. One factor is because you're doing it derech lichluch, right, by drying your hands on it, and also because it's not a lot of water, right? So it's like maybe there's some amount there going on as well. So,
if I remember correctly, this came up in the Ramah. Is that right? In the Shulchan
yes.
Aruch?
Yeah. So this also came up in, and we'll see it again, right? The Shulchan Aruch thinks, and the Chayadim actually paskins this way as well, that when you wash your hands on Shabbat, you should shake them off, l'naer, right, really well, before you dry your hands, because he is nervous about a lot of water on your hands in this towel. The Ramah is less nervous about it. That he actually doesn't think that's a problem because he thinks it's always derech lichluch. But the Shulchan Aruch thinks that the amount is an important factor as well, and you see this with the Hayadim also. So is that helpful? Is that what I'm trying to say there? Yeah. Okay. Good. So. By the way, I will admit to having used this technique before. I do have two children when they were younger. I have used this. I do recommend you wash your hands again afterwards. So anyway, like a public service announcement. But okay, anyway, keep going. Ukshadam.
וכשאדם נוטל ידיו ורוצה לנגב במפה, טוב גם כן לנער ולזרוק מידיו בכוח המים, כדי שלא יישאר עליהם רק מעט מים, ואז מותר לנגב לכולי עלמא. ובמים מרובים יש אומרים, אפילו כשהוא דרך לכלוך, אמרינן שריעתו זהו קיבוסו, ואנו אין בקיאים כמה הוא מרובים. So when an individual washes their hands and then wants to dry them with a towel, it's also good that, just like you said, Rav Joel, they should shake their hands and cast off from their hands with some force the water, so that only a little bit of water will remain on their hands, and then it would be permitted for them to dry on the towel according to everyone's opinion, because with a substantial amount of water, there are those who say that even derech lechluch is a problem, because you have the problem of just wetting a garment is the equivalent of laundering it. And we're not expert in how much is a lot.
Yeah. So he said a couple of really powerful things there. One is that not everyone agrees that a lot of water on, drying your hands from a lot of water on a towel is a problem, right? Some people think it's derech lichluch. It doesn't matter how much water there is, but some people do, and that's important. And, right, and this is a very achronish kind of response, is we don't actually know what is a lot, right? This is, so therefore, like to keep yourself away from a possible chatat, you don't, shake your hands out well. So I was thinking about this Shabbos, by the way. I when I got up in the morning to wash, my first thought, believe it or not, was this piece, not in the Chai Adam and in the Shulchan Aruch. I was like, about the Tzarich Lena Eret Yadav. I was like, oh, it's like, I don't, maybe I do, maybe I don't have to. It's kind of nice to do it though, like to think of like, oh, this is the way I wash my hands on Shabbos, is like I shake them off a little bit more, so just my own personal take. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that in this class, but I'm giving my own personal take. So anyway, Rav Nachum's here. You can critique me if I'm not allowed to do it. So it's good. It's good to have that be your first thought in the morning, right? I hadn't, so okay. Sif Gimel. Let's do that.
But needless to say, he's machmir. Like most people say derech lechluch is fine. You don't have to shake.
Exactly, and the Chai Adam does, in some cases, tend to be machmir about things. That's just a way he is. He likes to be, I wouldn't say yotzei l'chol deot, but he does. It's and he has some particularly chumradic things. But the nice thing he does, and this is what I really appreciate about him, is he gives you like the gamut here a little bit, right? He's not like, this is the way to do it. He's giving you a range of opinions out there before he comes to his own. So, but all right, let's do one more. Oh yeah, go for it, Ruben.
Just to clarify, because I think the more I think about this, the more confused I become. Derech lichluch is not to literally make something dirty, because when you dry your wet hands on a clean towel, you're not actually dirtying the towel, but it's like as contrasted to derech kibus, I guess, meaning you're not taking away something from the fabric that you wish to take away in order to render it naki. I'm trying to. Is there a better way of understanding derech lichluch?
No, it's a great question here. I want to just I've been thinking about this a little bit, because two things. One, I actually think this is a place maybe we should be more chumradic in our world, right? In our world, I think we get, because of the use of hand soap, which they weren't necessarily using so much when they washed their hands. I actually think our hands are cleaner when we dry them off on a towel than they may have been in the world they were thinking of. So right when the Tosfot talk about this, is why, right, it's Rabbeinu Tam, is the Rabbeinu Tam or the Ri? I can't remember one of them. It's a Tosafot, but that talks about you're allowed to do this. Like, why? Well, they actually say, why is it we do dry our hands on Shabbos, right? They get nervous about it, it may literally be because you are getting the towel dirtier. On the other hand, it's also like the water on your hands is not like water you're using for cleaning. It is water you're getting off because the water on your hands is like bad, right? You don't want the water on your hands. You want it off and you want to dry it. And so the towel is taking away the thing that you don't want, and not you're taking the thing from the towel that you don't want it to have, right? It's like a different case there. And I think that's, so, you could say maybe we should be more machmir because, we are actually, like, our hands are so clean with the last water on it that the stuff on the towel is cleaning the towel, and I think that's some of the nervousness around that too. But yeah.
Can I just jump in for a second?
Yeah, Rav Nachum, bevakasha. Yeah.
Yeah, I just my thoughts are that derech lichluch means the action is a lichluch action. Nobody's trying to clean a towel by doing this. The action is to, when you remove the water, you're also removing whatever remnants of dirt are on your hands. So it's the action is intended to remove dirt and not to clean the towel. So it's like the Rasha Eno Mikaven. And it also doesn't really clean the towel because it's not like the towel is going to be cleaner now.
Mhm.
You know, even if it's only tiny bit dirtier, it's certainly not cleaner.
Yeah. Good. I like that. It's so, but okay. Good. Let's do Seif Gimel and yes, it's I will actually maybe I'll add one more thing. And if anyone ever looks at the tour on Hilchot Netilat Yadayim, right? He actually, there's a big question that shows up, right? Why do we say the bracha of Netilat Yadayim after the action, right? Like not before, like we usually you say the bracha and then you do the action, right? That's the usual way we do things. And there's a lot of dispute about this, is maybe because you weren't in the right state of Tehorah to say the bracha. But the Torah actually says because really the final stage of washing your hands is drying them on the towel, and so it really is samuch la'asiyah in that sense. And I think there is like something to that of like, yes, part of cleaning your hands and therefore getting the stuff you don't want on it is the drying portion. Like that is part of cleaning your hands, not cleaning the towel, so to speak. So, but okay, it's worth looking at the tour there. By the way, I think interesting. Seif Gimel. Let's Max. Would you take Seif Gimel for us?
How's my sound?
It's good. It's good.
Okay. All right. אם אין בבגד שום לכלוך, יש אומרים תאפיל אחרי שריעתו זהו כיבוסו וחייב. So if there's no dirt on the clothing, some people think that even that it still counts as a form of kibus and you're chayav. ויש אומרים כיוון שהבגד נקי, לא אמרים על שריעתו זהו כיבוסו ופטור. But others think that because it's totally clean and you're not actually doing any cleaning, then you're patur. ומכל מקום, לכולי עלמא אסור ליתן עליו מים מדרבנן, דגזרינן שמא יזכו. But still, everyone thinks that it's asur to put water onto a clean beged, lest you come to wring it out.
Good. I want to stop you there. Just want to point this out. I'm sure people got this, but the debate going on here. One, if you have a completely clean garment, right? The thing has just come out of the laundry right before Shabbos, right? Some people say dioraita, I could put that thing in water, not wring it out, not rub it one side against the other, like just like stick it in water, and that's not kvisa, right? That's not kvisa. I'm not chayav dioraita. Okay, there is a derabanan fear, however, even according to that opinion, that will now not fear. There's a derabanan isur because I now have a beged that's full of water, which of course, if I come to grab it, I'm going to squeeze the water out, and that is a problem, right? Schita, as we saw, it doesn't matter if it's clean or not, and so that's problematic. So therefore, you're not allowed to do this, but potentially you would be able to, as you will see, like, this would be the whole thing. Like, can I take a clean garment and wipe something, like wipe up something with water? As long as it's not so much water, I'm going to come to squeeze it out or not, maybe okay. If it's enough water to come squeeze it out, then it becomes problematic, right? So, okay. Do you want to do the rest? Yeah, do the rest. Let's go for it. If you're available for it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. ולכן, כשנשפך מים על השולחן וכיוצא בו, אסור לקנחו בבגד שמקפיד עליו. דף אגב, זהו גם כן דרך לכלוך מכל מקום, אם יש עליו מים מרובים, חיישינן שמא יזכו. So, when you pour water onto a table, you can't wash a piece of clothing that you're makpid about.
I did not wash. I would say when you have like a spill on the table, right? You spilled water on the table. You want to wipe it up. You can't wipe it up with a piece of cloth, right? That you're concerned about. So,
With the spill that's on the table, which is why you have the water. Okay, right. Okay, because even though it's derech lichluch, I guess maybe you have to use a lot of water in order to make that cleaning effective.
Well, and I think it's not your.
Or if there's a lot of water on the table.
I think the water's on the table. Yeah, you spilled your jug on the table, and you're gonna get, you need to get the water up quickly. So
right, then there's going to be a schita concern with the towel that you used to wipe up the spill.
Yeah. So
okay.
Okay, and we the rest part we'll see again in the Shulchan Aruch. It's not a problem. We could stop there. But I don't know if anyone knows. By the way, there's a Mishnah towards the end of Masechet Shabbat about people. I think the source may have been given. It was like a few weeks ago now, also. But about people like drying themselves off with a towel on Shabbat. Do people know this? And there's a one thing that actually talks about the permissibility if you have a lot of people around who are going to keep you from doing schita, right? In the Mishnah there, actually, it's not the Mishnah doesn't directly say it. The Gemara comments on the Mishnah about this, right? That it's that there is something, and this shows up also in the first parak of Masechet Shabbat, that there are cases where if other people around you are going to stop you from violating the secondary concern, kind of, then there are some leniencies around it. But just wanted to throw that out there. Worth looking at those. Okay, good. I'm gonna stop my share.
Rev Joel.
Yes, Rav Nachum, please.
Sounds like he's saying that putting the table on a spill on the table, putting the towel on a spill on the table is not usher because of schita. It's usher because, and I mean, not usher because of libun, but it's usher because maybe you'll do schita, and therefore it's rabbinic.
Exactly.
So what if the towel is from synthetic materials that themselves are the schita issue of synthetic materials is itself d'Rabbanan? Wouldn't we be able to permit such a use of a synthetic towel?
It's possible, yeah. I mean, it's always the question of, is there ein gozrin al gezerah, but sometimes we treat the gezerah itself as applying across the board, even to things that are d'Rabbanan themselves, right? So,
right.
I don't have a good answer. There's a sadly I count, but I'm not sure.
I would say you could be lenient.
You think so?
I would say with a synthetic material, like they make not like in Israel, they have rags for the floor that are 100% acrylic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can get like those. So, or I see your hand. We'll get it for. You can get. I have like camping towels, which are like 100% synthetic materials. They're like quick dry things, and
but those ones you probably do squeeze out.
You do, yeah. That's the thing. So,
in other words, you still can't squeeze it. It's just there's no gezerah of a chashash that you'll squeeze it.
Oh, okay, because those things.
So you'll have to know yourself. In other words,
so would you?
You'd still have to be careful not to actually squeeze it out.
So,
which I try to do sometimes. Like you just leave it there.
Yeah, I've had that happen where I've actually I will see something where maybe I've mopped up too much water and asked somebody to watch me. As I can you make sure that I put this aside and don't touch it again, or whatever. It's I don't know if that's the right thing. That's just kind of what's occurred to me in the moment of making sure I don't violate squeezing. So Ori, I saw you had a hand there.
What's the shemakpida lav doing here?
I know. I was a little thrown.
That doesn't sound like a towel. That sounds like a shirt or something that you would care about. Then maybe you would squeeze it out. But a towel is designated for cleanup. So I'm not makpida lav in the sense of I need that nice towel to be nice. I don't need it to be nice. I need it to be on the table cleaning up the water.
Yeah, so, I was wondering.
Also, how does this apply to something that's disposable? Sort of by definition, I'm not concerned. I'm not makpida, but I'm not, on a paper towel. I'm going to throw it away.
Yeah, I've seen people
be much more
lenient around disposable things because you're not going to do schita to clean it. You don't want the water necessarily, right? For all of that, those reasons like paper towels and stuff like that. It's so if you're using disposable, maybe there's more room for this. Like Rav Nachum is saying about the synthetic materials, right?
Is that what the makpida lav is doing here? Because that's what causes the schita concern?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think he's pushing there are certain things that you would not be makpida lav, and therefore you wouldn't actually ever wring them out. So we're not actually concerned about shema yishchot, right? As opposed to the towel that, as a good example, towel that I might want to use later, right?
Let me just jump in here. It's not that you would never squeeze it out. You would normally squeeze it out, but you wouldn't be uptight about it. You wouldn't get nervous about it. And therefore, you'll remember that it's and you won't squeeze it out. It doesn't have to be ad kidei kach that you would never squeeze it out. Just has to be that you're not so nervous about it, so you remember, yeah, about it, I can't squeeze this out.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's probably the same thing to say about the disposable stuff too, right? Is that, you know, you could squeeze it out. It's maybe try to use it again, but you're not going to do that. And Shabbos, it's like the factor of Shabbos is stronger than the factor of like, oh, the natural way to do this thing is to squeeze it out, and that's really what I care about. And so, but
my last question about squeezing, because this is really, is it Shema? Is that like I might accidentally squeeze it out? Because you're all speaking like it's on purpose. But if it's really wet, if I even pick it up, is that the squeeze? Does that count if it's really not even meaning to?
No, I mean, I think there is always a concern of that, but I think the real concern is that I'm going to intentionally squeeze it out. I may forget it Shabbat, you know, like this is the thing that's blinding me in the world right now is that is that I have this towel that I need for later and I'm going to squeeze it out, or this, you know, this towel that I normally try to reuse very quickly. So, that's my
Can
sense.
I ask?
Yeah.
Can I about
Oh, hold on a second, because Ruben has had his hand up for like a while, and I want to grab his
I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead, Ruben.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you. Yeah, the Makpid Alav thing was confusing me, but I wonder if we could also include under Makpid Alav that not like muscle memory, but like when you use a washcloth, if you don't squeeze out the washcloth, it's going to bother you. It's like it's something that you feel is it's like part and parcel of what using a washcloth is for you. And if you leave that sopping wet sponge or washcloth on the side of the sink, it's going to really bother you, as opposed to, you know, you want to keep it beautiful. Could that also be what Makpid Alav means?
I think that's what Rav Nachum was really trying to say, actually, if my Rav Nachum can jump in, right? It's like that thing is sitting there and like I need to squeeze. I have this like urge to squeeze this thing out because that's the way I treat it. But no, go for it. And then
But Rav Nachum mentioned that schita is rabbinic. It's what?
No, not Schita is rabbinic. That the concern Shema Yishchot is rabbinic, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Schita is
a to let it either dash.
Yeah, that was in the
Chai
Chayad. You got it a little bit late, but it is. It's schita of even a clean beged is considered a malacha, a full blown malacha on Shabbat.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a major problem, right? That's something we want to stay far away from as possible. So, this is the dance a little bit of cleaning spills on Shabbos, right? It's something you have to be very careful of, and at the same time, there are ways to do it. We don't want you.
Yeah, sorry.
Go for it, Max.
There was a question about whether schita was under dash or libun, right?
No, there's both. There's two types of schita, right? There's schita, the one. I mean, I'll throw it open. Anybody remember which one is which? How do you determine them? What's the Ruben, go for it.
I think the schita that's under dash is when you want the liquid you're extracting, and then if it's under libun, it's when you're getting rid of liquid you don't want.
Exactly. So schita, this is actually, it's a really good point. There are some actions that could be, depending on the intent of the action, they may look the same from the outside, but they're completely different malachot at the end of the day. And this is the major one I can think of, actually, right? Is that you can't schita can be both a cleaning process and also a preserving the water process or preserving the liquid process. So, but yeah, okay, good. Let's go back to Shulchan Aruch, let's actually. This is a good place to bring it in. What was it? This was Mem Vav, right? That I wanted to do. I'll read the Shulchan Aruch, and then you guys can read the Mishnah Berurah. This is the fun part. We're in Siman Shin Bet Seif Tet. So, Mutar li'ten mayim al gabei min al l'shach shecho, aval lekabetzo dehainu shemeshav shef sido ze al ze asur. So you can put water on a shoe to l'shachshech, which there's an English word for it. I looked up, but it's like to put water to let water flow on to get rid of the dirt. Essentially, the Mishnah Berurah defines it at one point. He says, if you look in Mem Sif Katan Mem in the Mishnah Berurah, he says, "Noten alav mayim ad shichleach lichluch." Right, you put on water till the dirt goes away. That's if it's any krashich shuch. Okay.
Rinse.
So what does it mean?
It's to rinse. Jasper had a
Rinse.
word. I actually went to look it up and I can't remember, and it was one that we don't really use so much, at least in my world. But someone can look what he has. So, but yeah, it's to rinse it off essentially. Okay, as opposed to, by the way, what's the big difference? We're going to see this, but what's the big difference between a shoe and I can't do that with a towel, right? What's the difference between a shoe and a towel?
The leather of a shoe typically isn't absorbent.
Exactly, right. This is leather is has different category of kibbutz than it may not be bar kibbutz, right? Than or bar at least shria in the same way that garments are that other materials. So we did see, of course, right, there was one opinion in the Rishonim that thinks it's that certain other garment materials don't count, but that's not, it's a minor opinion. It does not we don't paskin that way. So okay. But you can't rub one side of the shoe against the other, right? That's asur, right? Aval beged sheyesh alav lichluch asur afilu shachshecho dezeu kibuso elo mekancho bismartut bekal v'lo badochach pen yischot, right? So with an actual piece of garment, you can't do the shichshuch. You can't just like pour water on it, right? Because that is kibbutz for it. But what you can do, right, is you can wipe it off with a rag, nicely, lightly, but not hard because you don't want to squeeze it out either. Okay. And I'll just read the Haggah. Uveged she'ein alav lichluch mutar latet alav mayim muatim v'lo merubim. Shema yischot v'yesh osrim b'chol inyan. So this is what I want to focus on. The Ramah says, if you have a garment that does not have any dirt on it, it's a completely clean garment. You can put a little bit of water on it, but not a lot of water on it because, yes, lest you come to squeeze it out. And some people say, no, you can't even do that, right? So I wanted to look actually at the Mishnah Berurah on this muatim versus merubim. So this is Sif Katan Memvav in the Mishnah Berurah on velo merubim. So maybe I don't know who hasn't read yet. Ori, you haven't read yet, so go for it.
Castro calls it dabbling, by the way.
Dabble. That's it. Dabbling. Yeah. Which I was.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I was like, never seen that word before. I went and looked it up, but it was so.
Okay. Latet alav mayim.
But actually, you know what? Do the beginning of that one too, because we saw it, but I want to.
That's memvav, but memzayin is lo merubim.
Yeah, but do the beginning of memvav anyway.
Okay. Latet alav mayim dishriya lo have kibbutz ela kisheyesh alav lichluch. Umikol makom asur b'merubim mishum chashash l'shema yischot.
Good. You can stop there.
So shriya soaking would be cleaning only when there's lichluch on it, dirt on, some kind of dirt. And then if it was a lot of water, then we're worried that you might squeeze it.
Good. All right, now jump to the next one, Mem Zayin, the lo merubim.
ולא מרובים, ואם הוא דבר שאין מקפיד על מימיו, ומניחו כמה זמן עם מים. So if it's something that he's not makpid on the amount of water.
I don't think you don't care about the water that's in it, right? The fact that it's wet, you'll see, right? It
doesn't matter if it's wet to you. Umanicho kama zman im hamayim, you would leave it for a while with the water. Lo gazrinan shema yischot bazeh. We're not worried you're going to squeeze that. Kimosh katuv Siman Shin Aleph Membav.
So exactly. So this is actually a definition, right? Is it the kind of thing that you'd be willing to leave soaking wet for hours and hours? Or is it the kind of thing where normally you wouldn't do that? It's the kind of thing you would, you want it to be dry as soon as possible after you've used it after water's gotten on it. And that's a good distinguishing factor actually to use, I think, here in the Mishnah Berurah. So.
Is this you or people in general? Is this Hefzer Gavra?
I think this might be it's a good
because
question.
I'm so not makpid on these kinds of things. You know what I mean? Like naturally, if I would leave a wet towel. My wife would not leave a wet towel out.
Yeah, or more to the point, if I'm particularly makpida on it, like I'm worried that it's if I leave it there, it's going to either someone will step on it or slip on it, or it'll become moldy because I forget about it,
Moldy.
which is you'll grow mildew there, or it'll
Yeah.
become, you know.
I'm going to say
But I
something.
would leave it mildewy, and others would not.
Yeah, I'm going to say something
Ew.
from my own sechel, which is
By accident.
you can buy this or not buy this. I think at the end of the day, we're trying to keep you from doing slita, right? So it's I think it's about you in many ways here. It's like and we've seen this in other places, right? How makpid are you about this garment and so forth? We're trying to keep you personally from a deraita violation, and so yeah.
But
Now, does that mean that if you're the person, I'm like, I leave wet stuff all over my house, right? Therefore I could do, mop it up with whatever. I don't know, but yeah, it's really at the end of the day, this is we have an exact gezerah here, right? We don't want you to squeeze on Shabbos, so
but in a shared household, if I leave it, someone else might come to schita.
Exactly. That's a fear. So, and there are times we often say, right, batla dato etzel kol adam, right? It's like, yeah, you're a strange, not a bad guy, but a strange person in the way you think about these things. And so, maybe what you think is like, you're willing to leave wet, nobody else is. And then a guest may come over and be like, oh, I'm going to fix this for you. I can't stand that this is there. But yeah, but I think it really is personal in this sense. Okay. That was, I think I had more on Ted. Let me just check my sheet here. No, I didn't. I want to go on and see if you had. How are we doing? I have not paid attention to time at all. Oh, we're great on time. This is good. We can go back and do some more stuff. Yud, I will read. I'm doing Shulchan Aruch today. Harochetz yadav, tov linagvam bechoach zo bazo, ulasir mehem hamayim kefi yecholto, kodem shekanchem bamapa. Right, someone who washes their hands. It's a good thing for them to like shake them. I would say he doesn't use lena air here, but to wipe them with a lot of strength, one against the other, right? To wring your hands. Wringing your hands, is that the right word? Wringing your hands together to I think is the right thing. And to remove the water from them to the best of your ability, I'd say, before you ever wipe them on the towel or on the cloth. So you see the Shulchan Aruch, we saw this his nervousness here of drying your hands on a towel that are really wet. V'yesh shekatvu de'ein lachosh b'zeh. The Rama says some people say there's no concern about this. We don't say that soaking a piece of cloth is its washing in this manner, right? Of drying. This is just lichluch. And that's what we do. I always like when he's quoting the Torah in the Beit Yosef and the Agur, but when he says this is what we do, is like this is the dominant practice. I'm not going to reject this at all. V'lachen mutar l'nagev yadav beveged shehitil bo tinok mei raglayim. We've seen this before, right? You're permitted to wipe your hands or dry your hands on a garment that had urine on it from a child, from a young child. Kedei levatlam, to negate the urine. She'ein ze derech lichluch be'alma. That's not derech lichluch, right? As we saw. Aval asur liten mayim mamash al hameraglaim kedei levatlam. But you can't directly pour the water in order to negate the urine onto the garment. We did see, right, an opinion that actually thinks you can do that, but that's not the way that the Rama is paskening. So, okay. I want to look at a few of these. Let's start with Mem Tet. Right, if you notice, there's a machloket kind of between the Mechaber and the Rama here. And the Shulchan Aruch is like, you should wash your hands by first getting all the water off of them and then wiping them on the towel. And the Rama is like, no, we don't need to do that. So let's look at Mem Tet in the Mishnah Berurah. How do we paskin? Let's see, who is up for reading? Noam, you want to read? Go for it.
Tov v'chulei. Aval midina sharei l'shtei deot nizkarot le'il
Behaga.
Oh, sorry, I'm like really slow today. Behaga lekaneach b'mapa uchmo shekatav bahaga. So the Mishnah Brewer is saying, but according to the law, it's permitted, according to both opinions in the Ramah, to wipe against the towel.
Exactly. So seems pretty good. Let's do a couple other things. It was like a nice simple one. But this is the wiping. I want to do this actually because we saw this in the Chayadam. It's drying off the spill on the table. This is the Derech Lichluch. It's Nun Aleph. I wasn't planning on doing the whole thing, but you know what? Since we have some time, let's do the whole thing. No, keep going. You can do some work.
Okay, great. Derech Lichluch. שידיו מלוכלכות ומטנף בהם את המפה, ודווקא במפה...
Well, I want to pause you there because I this actually gets back to the although Rav Nachum disagreed with me a little bit, I think, on this, but the question that Ruben had earlier of like, how is that derech lichluch? It actually might fit Rav Nachum's too, right? The water on your hands is lichluch to some extent, right? This is, not that the water's, it may have some dirt in it, but also it's like, it's not what you want on your hands at the end of the day.
And like I wrote in the chat, you will, if you do that enough times, you will eventually want to launder the hand towel.
Exactly. That's a great point, right? It is true, right? It's like,
so I think it is actually Derek Lichluch.
Yeah. It's not like, I take my hand towels, I leave them out to dry, and then in fact, actually sometimes, right, it's like I get nervous when people are, doing a tilat yadayim, right, at your table. And, you kind of want to give them like, at some point, you're like, I start with a fresh towel. Let's, when I do it. And I, not just because I don't want one that's been damp or used. It's like, your guest, you don't want my guest using a towel that I've been wiping my hands on all day, right? That there's something to that. So.
Not to be too philosophical, but derech lichluch means it's the opposite of kibus, right? So if washing means removing the thing from the object, lichluch is the opposite, adding whatever thing you're removing. Like you guys are putting, I won't say a value judgment, but modern value of what dirt is.
Yeah.
But can't water be dirt? And when we say it's not that it's dirt, forget the word dirt, right? It's derech lichluch means I'm trying to move the thing onto the towel.
Yeah.
So even if it's water, that is derech lichluch, right?
Don't think
Because
about
you're trying to clean the
lichluch
towel
as dirt, but as just messing.
Yeah.
So derech lichluch
Yes,
isn't,
is
you're
the
not making it filthy.
Metanef.
Yeah. You're
Right.
just making it, you're messing it up.
So, and I'm also, I think there is
Right.
what we saw from the very beginning of the Siman, with the case of, Makpid and Lanaera Beged, this whole thing of a sense of taking something and making it more, you're more willing to wear it or use it, or making it less willing to wear it or use it. And in this case, we're going to the negative, right? It's, as you said, we want to wash this towel eventually. So clearly we're not washing it in that sense. So I think this really is the Tosfot's brilliant thought about this, right? Is like, why is this okay? Because you're right. The water is we're taking it off our hands and to get rid of the yuckiness of the water, not vice versa. So not putting it on the towel to get rid of the yuckiness in the towel. So
this is leading me to my question, which I think maybe will come up in Yud Aleph better, which is, so you're allowed to clean your hands. You're allowed to clean your skin.
yes.
So the question is, are you allowed to clean your hair?
Good. So schita will be an issue, but other than that, it seems fine actually. Your hair is not a garment. It can become a garment, but it's not a garment. But there is a schita issue, of course, right? This is anyone who, I'm not one of these people based on gender, but anyone who's gone to the mikvah on Shabbos, I am told by people who are close to me who tell stories like this, they tell you to be very careful about, if you go Friday night to the mikvah, very careful about your hair, wringing out your hair.
But what kind of schita problem is that?
It's a great question. I guess it is kind of, you don't want the water, right? So it is cleaning, maybe. That's I never thought about that.
That's why I'm asking. So you're telling me you can't clean your hair.
Yeah. So shriya is maybe okay, but not wringing. So.
Well, I have a question. Couldn't it, in theory, be? Yeah, it could be libun. It could be malacha sheina tzricha legufa, but that would just make it patur aval asur. So you should still not do it.
except for the Rambam, right? The Rambam thinks it's Asur, but it's
Yeah, but
yeah.
except for the
Yeah, no, but no, I think you're right. I hadn't thought about that. You're right. I guess it is.
But
Yeah,
my hair's not a beged. Why can't I clean it? Why
yeah.
can't I sopet it?
So, unless Rav Nachum wants to jump in here,
I
want to
want to push
I wanna
on
think
this
that
one.
through before I say something not right. But
Well, it might be better in Yud Aleph because you're gonna wipe your hand on a
on the tail of the
tail of a horse.
yeah, exactly. So, but I think even there, right, but that's just doing it in a different way, and there's not really a concern about squeezing it out. So yeah, it's a great question about schita of the hair. But you are, by the way, this is the Machaber and the Shulchan Aruch does permit washing in cold water on Shabbos. You are the Ashkenazim don't hold that, but Sephardim do. But you are allowed to wash, right, parts of your body one by one. But this is. Did we do I missed the first class. Did you guys do the swimming thing or no? You did.
No,
We touched on it.
oh, sorry,
No, we
as in
didn't.
we read it, but we didn't go over it in class.
Okay.
I signed it, but we never had time to do it.
Yeah.
We'll
'cause
get back to it. We'll get back to it.
good, because this is one of the big factors in swimming. Is this? There's the carrying factor. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with the questions of swimming, but one of them is the Ashkenazi Sephardi split of can you immerse your body in water? And wait, Rav Nachum, since you're there, what do you think about the hair? Is it Mila Ben?
Actually, I wasn't listening at that point, so rephrase it. What's the question?
So the question is, right, we have a thing, right, that, for instance, if you go in the mikvah on Shabbos, right, they say, be very careful.
Squeeze your hair out. You shouldn't, when you come out of the mikvah on Shabbat, you're not supposed to squeeze your hair out.
Yeah.
But you can pat it into a towel.
Yes. Yeah. But what's the conflict? If you squeeze your hair out, is that Mila Ben?
What I'm getting at is you
Yes.
can only
Yes,
clean a beged.
I would say it's Mila Ben de Rabbanan.
Okay.
So hair
That's
could
what
be
I
a
would-
beged, is what you're saying, or hair
Hair
could
is not a
be.
beged. Hair is not a beged, but it's something similar. It's something that can be squeezed out. It's not dash because you don't want the water.
You don't want the water.
Yeah. So, yeah, it does look like clean, like cleaning. So there is that problem, and that so it does. I think it sounds right that it's a derabanan isur.
I guess what I'm asking is the kibus libun, isn't this a malacha that's intended for cloth? Or how broad is it? And if it's not just cloth, what exactly is it intended for? And that's why I think hair is an interesting example, because hair is not woven. That's one thing. It's also not a thing that was, produced, which I imagine is closer to the heart of libun, in the Mishkan.
So good. It seems to be that in its
wool is hair, isn't it? I mean,
yes, yeah. It's just it's
and you can't wash a sheep, or is it only a wool cloth, a woven? Because wool is woven. I think it's that process that makes it tighter and tougher.
Yeah,
and holds
I
dirt.
think that would be but I think if you had a big clump of wool and you squeezed it and you put it in water and then you squeezed it out, it would be a kind of libun, maybe only rabbinic, but it would be a kind of, but maybe not rabbinic. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but I think it would certainly be some type of libun.
So, yeah,
a good
it sounds
question. That's on a deraita level. On the deraita level, is that called libun? Because it's not really a beged. It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure.
Is there a nafkamina that you're thinking about, Ori, with it?
I mean, there's so many nafkaminas. Certainly swimming, and I mean, my beard hair is pretty tight too. But I do. I'm just trying to feel it out, because it feels to me like libun is intended for clothing and begadim and all kinds of cloth things in your life. And I think the idea of like your own body is an interesting question. I know that you kind of get it in the halacha from the side, but in an essential way, is cleaning your body the kind of cleaning that we see in the malachot?
Yeah.
Well, as soon as we were talking about wiping our hands off, okay, so that's like leather, I guess. It's just that from a tangible level, not a theoretical level, water doesn't stick in it. So hair is sort of in the middle in that way of like something that dirt could stick into, but would libun really go so far as to apply when clearly in the Mishkan it's about, I mean, I'm being a little, Mishkan might be a little bit far, but in the essence of the halacha, it's like very much about clothing and your stuff.
Well, good. So I want to just take that with the principle for a second here, right? Because we do say, right, even that even for leather, you can't like rub one side of the leather against the other, right? That is melaben at that point. You are allowed to do
And that
that.
helps me because you are allowed to wipe your hands together.
Exactly. That's exactly
You
what
don't treat it like leather.
Yeah. So there with your hands, we're not worried about that melaben with your hands, right? At all. That's completely out of the category.
So,
And same with hair. Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say the fact that you actually are allowed to immerse, and then you're just told don't do that, means that there's no zera shemitzcha.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we are
I mean, there
allowing
are
the immersion.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. There are like cases where we say you, even if it's like, the Leil Tefillah, that you shouldn't do it. Like, if I remember correctly, Yom Kippur, you don't, right? So there are cases where we, I got to double check that halacha, but I'm pretty sure Yom Kippur, if it's Leil Tefillah, you don't do, you delay, right?
But also in Yom Kippur, there's a separate isser of sicha.
Exactly. That's the thing, so that there are cases where I was thinking because, like there is a,
there's also an issue of tashmish mita.
Exactly. There's both, right? There's both of them, and that's at the end though. But I think there's some like debate about. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna look back at the sources there before I say it out because I like what is the factor that governs not allowing tefillah that night? Is it not immersing? Is it not right? The Kohen Gadol, right, is allowed to immerse a whole bunch on Yom Kippur, but there's the requirement for him to do it. So it's that's like explicit in like you're gonna immerse this day, but he just 5 immersions, 10 beged changes. Did I have that right? Is that someone can check me? But that sounds right.
So bringing us into the 21st century briefly, what about a bidet?
Oh, like for cleaning your behind. I've never heard any. As long as it's like doesn't heat the water or anything like that. I've never heard. As again in Ash, it's clear we're not doing this in this Siman. You are allowed to wash pieces of your body without a problem with water on Shabbos, not just your hands. So
you don't have to worry about shaking your bottom off
really
vigorously
yeah.
before drying it with something.
No, unless you thought that you were going to come to Schita based on that. Probably not. So, but
part of the paper is not an issue also because it's disposable, sort of what we were saying.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just going to put it in water afterwards.
As long as you don't rip it.
Good. That's a whole nother, it's its own interesting topic, which I don't know if we're going to do this year. Maybe we will. So Rav Nachum I think it's a good topic because it's very much like, it's something that we encounter all the time. Okay, good. We were in the middle of Nun Aleph, right? Is that where we were? I thought we had so much time.
Yeah, we said a few. Yeah, we just read the first few words.
Keep going.
Okay. שידע מלוך לחוד ומטנף בהם את המפה, ודווקא במפה וכיוצא בהן שאין דרך להקפיד על המים התפוחים. And this is specifically with regard to some kind of a cloth or anything like it, that one isn't accustomed to be very concerned about the water that's been taken it.
Yeah, I would say literally absorbed. Tfuchim here, but right? It's like that you put with your hands, but like that has been absorbed in the towel at this point. So,
okay, keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
אבל לנגב בדבר שדרך להקפיד בכל על מימיו הבלויים בו אסור. מטעם שמא יבוא לידי סחיטה. But with regard to drying in something, that on a regular weekday, one would be concerned about the waters that are absorbed in it. That's forbidden, lest one come to do schita.
Exactly. If this is the kind of thing where on a Thursday you go wring it out right after you you dried your hands on it, then yeah, actually we're worried about that kind of thing. So
Sorry,
you
could
can
you
skip.
explain? Here it's talking about hakbada on the water specifically. So what's it referring to exactly?
I don't think it's that you want the water. I think you're concerned about this thing being soaked in water, right?
Okay.
That's the issue here.
So it's a question of how much you value the towel.
Yeah, or how much you value, like you don't want to leave this towel sopping wet around. So
Okay.
you can skip, right? Shekatuv, but so in the Magen Avraham. Okay, and all the Magen Avraham. Keep going. Gavayim bepri megadim.
ועיין בפרי מגדים שהכריע דווקא במים מרובים, אבל במים מועטים, כמו שמצוי על ידי סיפוק הידיים, לא חיישינן לסחיטה כלל. The Pri Megadim determines this is specifically with regard to a large quantity of water. With regard to just a little bit of water, as is found in a hand sponge, then we're not concerned about schita at all.
So yeah, but in other words, the whole thing about makpid is only for a lot of water, right? If you have a lot of water that you've dried off onto this towel, then we consider what do you do on a Thursday? I don't know why today's Thursday. That's why I'm picking Thursday, probably, right? But if it's like the amount that you like a small amount, like that, we're not so worried about that. So
anyway, interesting to think about sponges on Shabbat.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I guess he pukayadayim. I think he means the drying off of the hands there. I don't think he means the sponging. So,
oh,
yeah. So, in other words, when you dry your hands, he's like, schita is not an issue. Don't even. It's never going to rise to that, according to the Pri Megadim. So, okay.
Mm-hmm. So keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
וכן פסקו האליה רבה ותוספת שבת להקל בסיפוק הידיים, עיין שם תמיים. So they said to be makil on drying off your hands.
Good. So in other words, if you aren't worried about that, is the towel that I'm using on Shabbat to dry my hands the kind of towel I'm going to wring out on a Thursday or not, right? Then you're following the Elia Rabbah and the Pri Megadim. There's a pretty big sources behind you if you don't care about that. For a lot of water, then you need to start caring about like how would I use this towel normally. So, okay.
אבל אם נשפך מים על השולחן וכיוצא בו, לכולי עלמא אסור לקנחו בבגד שמקפיד עליו אם הוא צואה. אסור להעבירו אפילו על ידי ניגוב הידיים.
Oh, I think you must have skipped the line or something like that.
I did. Yeah, sorry. I was like, I thought it was going to the end. שמקפיד עליו אם הוא מים מרובים, שמא יבוא לידי סחיטה. But if water spills on the table, or I'm guessing some similar liquid, then everyone agrees that it's forbidden to wipe that with a cloth about which one is makpid when it has a lot of water in it. Less one comes to do schita.
Exactly. So drying your hands, according to some major sources, you never have to worry. It's like, am I going to do schita? Am I not going to do schita on this towel? But it's not a lot of water. But you do have to start thinking about that of like when a spill happens on your table on Shabbos, like which towel am I using to dry it off? So, or you could just make sure your children don't ever spill anything on the table. That's also possible.
But makpid, like, I guess I'm curious what makpid means. By the way, it's not only children, adults also spill things.
I know.
But I would, my personal practice would be to take that cloth and then throw it in a laundry hamper. Like, I'm not saying do laundry at that moment. So is that the definition of makpid, or the opposite, not makpid?
Well, he said it is like the kind of thing, right? Where was it that on Chol? But yeah, he does it about people call meimav habluimbo asur. It sounds like it's the kind of thing that you would never do slita on. You just throw it immediately in the washing machine. Maybe that's never an issue, right?
So that's being not makpid.
Exactly. You're not makpid, right? You're just like
I don't think I ever do schita in my life.
So, oh, that's really interesting. I will tell you, I definitely have things that I wring out during the week, right? Like they get wet and I squeeze them, right? That's, I mean, if nothing else, like a good example, and maybe this is where it happens more, is, things that I use like my children have washcloths that they use like to wipe their eyes out, something, and those things, like, they're disgusting if they stay wet. So I, like, during the week, I squeeze them out before. I don't throw them in the wash. I squeeze them out and I hang them up and I let them dry out, right?
Let me
but
read
you're right.
a paragraph from Shmir Shabbat Kilchata.
Yeah, please go for it.
Small quantities of water spilled on a table, whether or not covered with the tablecloth, may, subject to the restrictions mentioned in the subparagraph C below, be soaked up with a wiping up cloth, specially intended for such use, and only with such a cloth. I think he's saying that because he wants it to be that you're not makpid.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he says small quantities of other liquids spilled on the table, whether or not covered with the tablecloth, may be subject to the restrictions mentioned in subparagraph C below, be soaked up with any cloth, since the liquid is not normally squeezed out for use, but is disposed of. In other words, he's saying if it's like wine on the table and you soak it up, if you would squeeze it out, you wouldn't be doing, I don't know, you wouldn't normally squeeze it out, he's saying.
Yeah.
Water you might normally squeeze out, but if like honey, let's say, I don't know, you wouldn't squeeze it out. And he says, in all events, one must be careful not to squeeze, this is subparagraph C. One must be careful not to squeeze the cloth.
Mm-hmm.
And one should not soak up the liquid with the intention of using it, even if you're only going to use it after Shabbat or Yom Tov.
That makes sense too, right? There we get to the dash side of things, right? What if I want, this would be like, you mop a floor and then you wring out the mop, and because you want to use the liquid, not because you're disposing of the liquid, but you want to also use the liquid to mop the floor again or something, or get something else wet, kind of thing,
Right. But all of this was small quantities of water.
Yeah.
So you're not going to really get the towel that wet.
But we've all seen spills where you do, right? Those are, so.
Right. I think you should use a large towel then.
I had the same thought, right? The larger the
towel,
the less soaked it will be and the less wringable it will be at that point. So, but
or
that's
multiple towels, I was thinking.
Yeah, also, yeah, but it's hard because then you have to, like, if multiple small towels, each of them is going to get completely soaked, right? As opposed to one large towel where, thanks to the capillary effect, right, it will more likely spread amongst the towel and not be completely soaked. So, I just wanted to say capillary effect at some point in this year. So, I win. Okay. But let's actually, we wanted to do, how are we doing on time? Let me just see. Oh, we got a few minutes. Just think about timing for 1 second. Yeah, we'll do two other pieces here. So let's do Nun Gimel about the Meraglaim. This is right, the whole thing. The difference between urine and excrement here. So let's see, who wants to read? We can take volunteers at this point. Ori, please.
מרגליים, אבל כשיש עליו צואה, אסור להעבירו, אפילו על ידי ניגוב הידיים. So if there's excrement on it, you cannot pass it on, even through wiping your hands.
I think lahaviro is to remove it, right? To remove it.
Okay. Even through wiping your hands. ואף על פי שהוא דרך לכלוך, מכל מקום קיבוסו. So even though it would be derech לכלוך, moving it away, this is still a type of kibbutz. Dehabeged hayam menuchlach yoter mikodem ve'ata ma'aviro. So it was more dirty before, and then you're wiping it off. Ma she'en ken meraglain ein ma'is kol kach, because urine is not as disgusting. It's not the same phenomenon. V'gam sham ein matirin אלא משום דכוונתו רק כדי לבטלן ולא לכבס וללבן הבגד. And also there, we don't allow it. We only allow it because his intention is to, levatlan, to cancel it out. A better word.
I want to say
dilute.
neutralize. Is neutralize?
Yeah, neutralize. That's a good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say dilute in this case, but yeah, levatlan is more like neutralize. ולא לכבס and not to wash the cloth.
Good. So this is just important. I always want to, right, it's already like, it's walking a very fine line of saying I'm washing my hands and then drying them on this urine not necessarily soaked, but urine filled garment, then say like, on one hand, I'm dirtying it. On the other hand, I'm also like somewhat cleaning it, but I'm really just neutralizing the urine. I'm not actually trying to clean it there. It's not doing an effective job. But when you're actually removing excrement, when you're moving poop from a garment, it's pretty hard to say, oh, I'm doing it derech lichluch, right? It's clear that the garment is in a better state now by far than it was before. And so we don't allow this on Shabbos. That's the kind of thing you get to clean after Shabbat. And on Shabbos, if you're holding it, you put it away in a nice place where it doesn't bother anybody. There is a whole thing about removing, graf sharei in places and so forth, but that's a muksa conversation. So
we just throw it out in our house.
That's fair. That's very fair, and for a lot of things, that's actually the best way to do it.
I'm thinking of children's underwear.
Yeah. So this is at some point maybe when we do like diapers on Shabbos, which is actually a really fascinating topic. I heard a YU shiur once on this, which is really interesting about all the Shabbos issues or non-issues around diapers and so forth. It's really the biggest one was that this doesn't apply anywhere, but old diapers had like tape on them, and when you tape them up to throw them away, it was kind of a permanent thing. And so there's a debate about whether or not that's like tying a knot essentially. But all the modern ones have Velcro, which no one seems to think is a problem. So but also if you ever use cloth diapers, though, this will be a very important.
I don't think it's tying a knot. I think it's tefira.
I think it's tofer. It's sewing. Yeah, so. But
Velcro, there's no tefira.
Yeah, that's everyone seems to agree Velcro is not a problem on Shabbos. So, but which is interesting because you would think in some ways maybe you would think it is, but it's no one. Okay, let's do one more. I want to go to let's see how we done. Yeah, let's go to the very end of the Shulchan Aruch. Let's go to Seif Yud Gimel. This is that weird piece just because I say weird, it's not fair to say that, but it's just talking about a reality that we don't have so much anymore, and that even the Aruch HaShulchan is a little bit shocked by it. It's like, I have no clue what this is talking about, but ein mistaklin b'shabbat b'mar'eh shel matechet shehi charifa ki zemel. So you shouldn't look in a metal mirror on Shabbat that is really sharp like a knife on the end, right? It resembles actually like a scalpel, I think, essentially, is it maybe the right term? But dechashinan shema yashir banimim hamedul dalim, right? That you're gonna use it to remove the extra strings, right, that are hanging down from your garment. Ve'afilu im hi kavua bakotel. Right, even if it's stuck to the wall, where you really maybe couldn't do this so well. But so just look at a regular mirror that doesn't have sharp edges. That's not a problem on Shabbos, right? There might be other issues with looking at mirrors, but to do it for whatever reason is permissible, that's fine. I want to look at Sif Katan Samach Gimel, because I actually found this kind of interesting. So maybe you will too. Someone, maybe Josie, you want to read?
שאין בה וכולי. כגון, I'm sorry, כגון במראה זכוכית, כאין שלנו, והוא הדין במראה של מתכת, כשאינה עשויה חריפה, והטעם כיוון דאינה עשויה כלל להסיר בה
Last year, like yeah, and nun shin reish is like to remove, to make fall, yeah. So
לא גזרו כלל עליה, ולא חשינן שמאי כשיראה במראה, I'm sorry, כשיראה במראה שהן מדולדלין ילך אחר.
I don't keep going. ילך אחר, 3 more words.
ילך אחר מספרים. מספרים. כדי להעבירם.
Good.
We'll
see the reason in a second. Let's understand what he says that you're not. You can give me the bichlal. What's the thing that we're not afraid of in our modern day mirrors?
They're made of glass, and we're not using them with sharp edges to cut things, or we're not going to take a mirror down and use it like a pair of scissors.
Oh no, nothing you would, right? We're not concerned. Shemai kishireh b'moreshu shehen medulalim, that you see like, extra stuff hanging down on Shabbos. You're going to go find your scissors and go cut. He's like, he's actually bringing this up. It's like, why isn't this a concern? Right? Wait, okay. So the mirror, I can't take it off on the mirror. I have other objects in my house used for cutting things. Why isn't it my concern when I look in a mirror? I'm going to go find scissors and go fix the problem. So he says, but we're not. Right? We're not, there's no chashash for that. He's going to explain now.
Can we go for a second? I
Yes,
find this
sir,
halakha very reasonable, because it's like I can imagine almost in a movie actress, looking at a tall mirror, looking at her beautiful dress, and she's about before she's going to go downstairs to the ball, and she sees some threads hanging off, and so she's looking intently at the mirror and making sure she looks perfect to meet the company. And then she notices that there's a thread. So maybe we shouldn't let people look at mirrors at all.
Exactly. This is right. It's that it's very logical. In fact, it might even be that you keep a pair of scissors by your mirror to some extent, right? Like yeah, Ori.
I don't think that's logical at all. I think the Gemara must have been talking about a common practice that's almost like muscle memory, a device that it would be so easy to do it. Because otherwise, why just a mirror? You shouldn't be able to look down at your clothes. Like I can see my threads like this too. Why a mirror?
Yeah, good.
Well, it's all about that minhag of that time and the muscle memory of like doing it automatically.
Well, good. Let's see the last couple of words of the Mishnah Berurah, and this will bring all of it together, because that's exactly where he's going to go. Josie, read the last couple of words.
That on all of these things, we're going to remember that it's Shabbat.
In the meantime, like while you're doing this thing, you're going to remember that it's Shabbos, right? In other words, if it's exactly what Ori's saying, right? If there's a delay, then on your way to get the scissors, even on your way maybe to turn to open the drawer to get the scissors, you're gonna be like, oh, wait, it's Shabbos. What am I doing? Right? That's but with the mirror that has sharp edges, it's so accessible to you that you're going to do it before you think about it, right? Before you consider, oh, it's Shabbos, it's just like an automatic reaction. And so I think that is the kind of important distinction going on here. I think this is why I wanted to bring this. It's so fundamental of, is it something, are you automatically going to do it? Or is it the kind of thing where you're going to have enough time to remember it? It's Shabbos. Oh, I can't do this. We don't assume that people are like, I want to violate Shabbos. People are like, I want to squeeze out this cloth. I want to, what we're assuming is that people, I don't know if we've all been there. I've been there where it's Shabbos, but like you're in an activity that is so normal that you just like don't think it's like it doesn't occur to you in the meantime that it's Shabbos, and that you make the mistake. And that's what a lot of these gezerot derabanan are about. So it's to stop that instinct from happening. So
it's why people have light switch covers on Shabbat, because that's the thing that it's literally muscle memory. You just walk by and you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But and it does, like I remember I lived I studied at Hadar for a summer, and I lived in New York, and I had this flatmate, South African law student, and one Shabbos, it was like one bathroom in between the two rooms next to the kitchen, and we both woke up Shabbos morning, and I got up and the bathroom light was off, and I was like, well, this is very strange. So I asked him about it, and he said, I don't know. Maybe it was you. Who knows? One of us clearly woke up in the middle of the night on Shabbos, got up and turned the light off, and it's very easy to do. So we have Gezerot to stop that kind of activity, okay, that's where I will end today. Hopefully that was helpful. Everyone have a good Shabbos. We have Shiur on Monday. Next week, obviously, we won't have this Shiur because it's the new year. So and we'll miss another one again. At least I think I have to look. I don't know how
Rav more.
Yeah,
2 more.
But Rav Nachum, I assume we're taking off Chol Moed Sukkot, right? So that's we do. But the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, I won't have one right after that because it's going to be Chag already. So we'll miss 2 of these. Yeah. So
I didn't follow. So there will be one Aseret Yemei Tshuva, or there won't?
No, because Aseret Yemei Tshuva, Is
It's
oh no, I
already
think Yeshiva will be fine.
We'll be-
Yeah, we'll have this.
We
but-
won't be able to do Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret because in Israel it'll be Chol, but here it won't be.
Oh yeah, we'll be in Chol in Israel, but for me
That's
it won't be Chol. For me it'll be Chag. So we
Yeah.
are.
We have. What do you mean? We have Yisru Chag also.
Oh yeah, that's
How much? You know how much you want to keep that. People do sometimes. Sometimes yeshivas don't start right on Yisru Chag.
that's fair. So, but
all right, Yishkoyach, Joel. Very nice.
yeah. So
Keep your clothes clean.
exactly, keep your clothes clean before Shabbos.
Before-
So and good Shabbos. So.
Good job.
Thank you, Shek. Good
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Thank you.
Shabbos, everyone. Thank you.